I regularly fear for my life.
You know, I'm an armed patrol officer, so I do respond to burglar alarms. So if someone breaks into someone's house, have a gun, I would have to respond to that certain situation. So I do fear for my life in a way, I guess you can say.
I do something that I think every black man, every black person in this country, many people of color have been trained to do, and that's when a law enforcement officer gets behind me and I'm driving. I'm making sure I'm signaling, I'm checking my speed, I'm thinking of all the different legitimate ways that you could stop me. And in that moment, I recognize and I realize that I'm not a scholar with a bachelor's in politics.
Stick up in. Racism is ingrained in American society. This is a Western thing. Let's say this is an American thing. Because the Constitution was written by slave owners from George Washington to all of them. They were all slave owners. And those are the guys who wrote the Constitution. So the laws are written not with black people in mind, with strictly for white people. That's why the laws also work good for black people. But at the same time, I can't blame everything on racism and say police are proportionally targeting black people specifically. And it's a part of it, but I'm not going to blame racism on the entirety of it. So let's continue.
Well, science, a bachelor's in sociology, a master's in public policy. In that moment, I'm just another black man to that officer, and that scares me.
I maybe could have stepped forward. I feel scared for my life when I'm at work. Often, when you get pulled over,
naturally, a cop have to fear him for his life as well, not only for black people, but in general.
I'm thinking about where I'm at on the highway, how I'm going to pull this vehicle over. Did I run the plate? Did it come back to that vehicle? Am I buckled in? Am I not buckled in? Because most officers are shot and killed during traffic stops. And as I approach, I put my hand on that car to leave my handprint, because if I'm shot and killed, that person is further incriminated by the evidence of my prints being on their car. But I don't feel afraid for my life as a citizen. But at work, I definitely do, and that's...
Stick up in again. So you hear what she said? I'll give a minute, because my eyes are running water. Anyway, so what she said is, she don't fear for her life when she's as a citizen, but she fears for her life when she's on the job. This is what I hear most officers says, that when they do a traffic stop, they have to be extra careful because for gun purpose and being attacked, and which it does happen. A lot of cops have been shot during traffic stops, so they're extra careful. And black people are targeted, yes, in some cases, not all cases, but every time a white officer stop a black person, regardless of what that officer do or say, it's automatically racist. There's the first thing they accuse him of. No matter what he say, if he say good afternoon, it's racism. So that I don't really see eye to eye, because people too like to blame, throw the word racism for any little thing. And I have a gripe with the Black Lives Matter. I don't believe in them, but let's continue. Anyway, before I go any further, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell to get notified whenever I drop a new video. Okay? Smash that like button. It helps with the algorithm for the video to go out. So let's continue.
a choice I made.
I choose not to live in fear. If the question was, do I feel less safe now than I did 5 years ago, I would say yes. And I think that that's because we have rampant social chaos that's expanding. And I think that that's playing a large role in a lot of the trends that we're seeing.
What do you mean by social chaos?
Out of wedlock birth rates, statistically, you know, that sets a child back 5 times more likely to be poor, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison.
I mean, the chaos that I'm seeing more recently is white men walking into schools with AR-15s and slaughtering people.
Yeah, and that is what you're seeing. And what you're not seeing is the dozens of homicides that occur in Chicago on a daily basis, and that speaks to.
Stick up in. I like what the officer said. People only see what the news media push out. And notice the news media push out everything and anything that has to do with a white officer and a black person. And there's tons of homicide happening in the States, especially in Chicago and New York, in the inner cities. gang violence and black crime, which is a massive thing right now in the States. So that's the reason, that's one of the things I don't like with the Black Lives Matter movement. But before I go into this long rant, let's continue.
Certainly a media that's desirous to push an agenda and a narrative that factually doesn't bear out. There is a massive disparity between black crime and white crime at large. And obviously that's going to lead to accelerated interactions with law enforcement.
Where's the criminalization of black people? When you have more police officers patrolling the concentrated area, then of course you have more stops. You have more.
If it's a more dangerous area, of course you're going to get more officers patrolling that area.
And then when I pulled them over,
common sense.
I pulled all occupants out of the car. I searched the car. I found this gun allegedly buried somewhere, and all of a sudden now you have a crime. As a public defender, the reputation is that I'm going to lose most of my cases. I have won far more cases than I have lost.
My name is Elisa Blair. I am African American. I'm also a...
Stick up in again. She's our prosecutor. Don't forget, the system was designed to put people into prison, especially prosecutors. So whether you're innocent or not, they don't care. The justice system is not designed for justice. It's designed to use to punish people. So the people act as if you have enough money, you can beat almost you can beat almost any case. But if you're poor, you can get a less educated lawyer and you get time fast because they want to make deals. But if you have money and you can afford a lawyer, you tend to win the cases. But I'm saying, justice system is not about justice. It's not about who's wrong or right. It's about who they can get, who they can send to prison. That's it. That's why black people are proportionally mostly locked up, because they can't afford lawyers. And they can't even afford bail. So if they can't afford bail, they're going to go directly to prison, and then your case doesn't get called, and everything get muddy, and you spend years in prison without even going to court. Which is what happening proportionately with black people right now because of lack of finance. Hence the why I say everything is not about racism. You have to do with finance, economics, everything. Let's continue.
Criminal defense attorney. As a public defender, I've seen the mistreatment of my clients. I see the disproportionate incarceration of black and brown people, and I see the excessive force used in arrests.
Police should be given more resources.
I think police should definitely be given more resources so that they have other options besides killing people.
They don't need more
Officers
resources.
should have the resources available to them to handle a situation without casualty on either side.
Yeah, I mean, as
Stick
an
up
officer...
in. Officers have tasers, they have pepper spray, they have dogs, they have non-lethal weapons, they have the rubber bullets, but they're not using it because you have people are more, especially when someone who is on drugs, so they are more strong and more resistant to all those things. So I think that's why it's not about more weapons. I think you have to do with more tactical training of de-escalation than anything else. But I don't think you have to do with more weapons or more training.
I appreciate hearing that from a member of the public and from a public defender, and can speak to it for myself and my department and what I've seen in other departments in the area, and know that we need more resources and different types of training, communication techniques to de-escalate situations, and different types of least force option techniques. But as a small woman, I also want to be able to physically protect myself.
Yeah, and it's more dangerous for a female officer
it's a hard balance.
Strength, purpose, and respect.
The largest expense.
Stick up in. Yeah, because a male officer will be more respected than a female officer. Because when a man say a female officer, right off the bat, he feel more confident in himself, because if he's a not good person, a gangster or a banger, they won't be as more, they'll be more laid back than if he's a female officer, because they can overpower her easily. But when I say a man present, they're more fidgety. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
For almost every municipality and county is public safety. There's plenty of money. What we don't have is enough implicit bias training.
But
the
this guy
things
look
that we
angry.
carry about ourselves
What is
that define how we interpret who
demeanor?
we're interacting with.
Our judgment.
We don't have
Like you
enough
want to yell at somebody.
contextualizing of the communities that you're serving. Draw officers from the communities from which they serve. That way, when they go back and they're policing their own community, that's deeper than just the race of the officer.
So you think that black police officers need to be trained to be more sensitive to the black community? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think black officers that are policing black communities should come from those communities. And I think a white officer who comes from that community might even be more effective than a black officer from somewhere else.
Stick up in. Well, you see, this is what I don't like with the Black Lives Matter people. They use things that can catch people, and then they flip it around at the end and use it to further push the Black Lives Matter. I don't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, let me rephrase it. In its inception, when they just started out, the Black Lives Matter movement, it was a good thing. But I think they should have more focus on police brutality against black people. That would be a more better movement if they do about this Black Lives Matter, because everything got spun with a control, and none of the money that's saved, over $90 million was donated and collected from the Black Lives Matter movement. So I said it was a scam. And the founders, they all bought mansions, $4 or $5 million homes. It's documented, it's online, I can find it. And the founder gave, she's a lesbian, so she gave almost $2 to $3 million to her wife to only deal with the LGBTQ community problem. And what they did is buy more property. They buy office space and more apartments and all that thing with the Black Lives Matter money. None of the money was raised that go to anybody to help to pay for lawyer fees for any unjustly accused person. Anyone who can't afford a lawyer, none of that money went to that. None of the money went to paying for bail for any black person who is innocent. So all the money is connected. For sure that the Black Lives Matter was a scam. Did nothing for the black community. They did not put no money in the black community. They didn't put aside a fund for to pay lawyers to defend black people in court. None of that was done. So where is the Black Lives Matter? If that was the main purpose, you would have put the money aside. And everything is they put on the TV during that period was about remember the guy that died, and that guy was a criminal himself. So they were basically defending a criminal, and that's what people like to do. They like to, when they put somebody up front, they like to use that person as a martyr and then say, yeah, but this person is get hurt and blah blah blah. That's why I never like Al Sharpton, because he only come around and amplify things and make it worse. He never comes to help, and he makes money off the backs of black people as well. So. And I don't like movements like that. They always just there to make money and use after the black person. Because black people, when they're emotional, they don't think logically. And they use their money to back anything, even though they don't know what's the full story. And with the news pushing this narrative as well. So yeah, I don't like the Black Lives Matter movement, because they did nothing for the black community. And black and black crime is one of the things we should focus on mostly. And economy for the black people to learn how to be financially literate, and without doing that, we're going to continue to have this repeating of generation after generation repeating the same thing.
I agree, and I think that that's a great point, which is that an officer, a white officer, a black officer, a female officer, a Hispanic officer could be just as good as any other or better. And that's because there are things other than skin color. And I think that what's so concerning about this dialogue is that it is pushing us further back into black communities, white communities, when really I thought that the goal of Martin Luther King was that we were going to be moving to a society where we were being judged by the content of our character. If we keep moving further into identifying based on our groups, I think that we're doing a disservice to his message, which I think was very powerful and that united the country in many ways.
But not at the time. In Martin Luther King's time, white folks hated him. It causes me to bristle and
black
have
people hate him
an
the
emotional
most.
reaction.
What are you talking about? That's why that black person kill him.
Says, black people are killing folks 50% in violent crimes, and then says Martin Luther King united the country. Martin Luther King would be down for Black Lives Matter.
Stick up in. Hell no, he wouldn't be down for the Black Lives Matter movement, because Remember, one of the core belief of Malcolm X was, do not judge a man by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character. That was his core belief. So why would he be for Black Lives Matter when he said you don't judge a person by the color of their skin? That means that would defeat the whole purpose of he saying that court. That court would make no sense then. Because so you say it's only black people have character, white people don't have character as well. And his movement had white people in it. All movements throughout history, all the civil rights movement had white people in it. And without white people, we wouldn't get certain things done. Because you need people on the inside to get things changed. Nothing is changed from the outside. No empire has ever fallen from the outside. It's always from the inside that it started and then it collapsed. So for you to get into to make laws for black people, you need white people who is already in the system, like the judges and the lawyers who sympathize with the black movement back then. Can't remember, they used to work with lawyers and presidents and senators back then to get things done. So you need white people. So the content, not the color of their skin, but the content of their character. So without that, Martin Luther King would never be done with the Black Lives Matter. He'll be against it 100% sure. I'm pretty sure that. So it surprised me. For that woman, she's a liar and she don't know this. That's very surprising to me.
The next statement is, I believe that all lives matter.
This triggers a lot of people. The all life matter.
It's a little bit surprising. Below all of this stuff, below skin, deeper than all this, there is a intrinsic God-given life that's put inside of all of us. I think that it's concerning that any movement would reject the fundamental premise of that while preaching for equality.
Exactly.
Because at that point, you're really not an equality movement if you're really only interested in speaking to your specific group.
I truly believe, and I agree with everything that you say. Everyone deserves life, and I believe that, life is a gift. Plain and simple, all life counts, all life matters, all life deserves a chance.
Yeah, I think that especially in this platform, but also in the world and the country that we live in today, stating that all lives matter takes away from the inequality that's happening in the world. Of course, all lives matter.
It negates the fact that something has to be addressed. And if you don't address it and you don't recognize that there is a problem that has to be...
Stick up in, but that's the premise the Black Lives Matter is using, saying, by you saying all lives matter, you're saying Black Lives Matter. What I said in the beginning, what they should have done is, they should have fight against police brutality. That's what the fight should be about, not about Black Lives Matter, because Black life doesn't really matter to most people, especially black people. Because a black person, we're looking at, look in Chicago, they had like, in one weekend, over 100 and some people got shot. You didn't hear a peep out of anyone about that. But, if a white officer pull over a black person, as I said earlier, and he said the wrong thing, he's racist. And they video him and they put it up on the news. And notice all these stops, all these traffic stops are become so combative. Yeah, they're very combative. They're arguing with the officer and finding quoting all kind of laws and all kind of nonsense and amplifying things. Not all, so don't get me wrong, not all, because you have some black people who do get harassed. But I don't put it solely on because you're black. I think you have to do it because you know you can't get that. They try to make money off of black people by giving them tickets and make them go to prison and for them to get bail. I think it's a financial thing, me personally.
Changed, then you never fucking change it.
But that's not our intention. Our intention was just to answer a simple question.
But it's not, not everything is the same. And not everything is the same.
Do all lives matter?
Yes, all lives matter.
If all lives have intrinsic value, if all lives are valuable, all lives are worthy, I would have said, hell yes, and would have been the first one in my chair. All lives matter is a specific phrase,
angry,
similar to Blue Lives Matter, and anything else that mattered after Black lives were exclaimed to have mattered, to detract, to appropriate, to subvert the message and the framing and the narrative that's being brought to us by the Black Lives Matter movement. So I don't think anybody
did nothing for black people. There was no laws and act. Nothing was done. Nothing was changed.
was derived from Black Lives Matter. To
So what was the
subvert Black
purpose of the
Lives
whole Black Lives
And I
Matter
won't
movement
come
if
here and
nothing
sit down
changes?
and say that that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just kind of going into the weeds here. The question wasn't Black Lives Matter. It was a simple question. Do you believe that all lives matter?
You don't think that that's an interesting phrase?
Connotations.
Is that a phrase that you've used?
I think that
It's very argumentative. I can't see if you want to argue.
Right, because it started right after
And that's the thing,
Black
is I
Lives
try and
Matter.
step back from, you know, whatever sort of identity political stuff we have going on, and I try and deal with things head on based on reality. And when someone says to me, do you think all lives matter? I answer unequivocally yes every time. The same way if you ask me if Black Lives Matter or female lives matter, I will answer the same way.
Do Black Lives Matter?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's that simple.
I had conflicting feelings about coming here today.
That's a loaded
For me, I
question.
was conflicted because I don't feel like I should speak for Black oppression, but as a white woman, I think that I can be of value to other white people who may not understand. I'm Sandra Cruz. Well, I'm from the 60s, and I went to jail a lot for fighting for women's rights. And as a human being, I think it's important that I speak out and speak up for injustices.
I'm feeling conflicted now as someone who steps into the law enforcement side as if we are on opposite sides. I am a law enforcement officer and a Black Lives Matter supporter. I find myself searching for what to do and how to make a difference, and I've had moments of thinking about leaving the force. I finally had a realization that this gives me an opportunity to have a different angle as a white woman and also as a police officer to potentially make a difference, even if it's just with changing myself.
Stick up in. I think I'm gonna finish it there because they're going to like small basic stuff. But let me comment on this white lady first. You see, I don't think what she's saying is what she actually means. This is just me. I think because she's being recorded and it's gonna be on the internet where she's saying yes, I agree with Black Lives Matter, because most people don't agree with Black Lives Matter if you think about it on a logical level. Because if you're a cop, Black people commit the most crime. We know this. So it's automatically you're gonna think when you say a black person, most likely, more times than not, that person is is committing some crime. Let me put it better. Especially people in the ghettos and in the inner cities. When you go in those cities, it's rough. If you go in the suburbs or anywhere else and see on a regular black person who dress properly, carry themselves modestly, they don't get harassed by the cops as often as at somebody with a jean pants hanging off the ass, gold chains all over them, and full finger, ring of full finger. That sends a signal. So you cannot say no. She's with Black Lives Matter and she's a cop at the same time. She's trying to appeal to the people because she's on camera, to me. The other one now that's saying she's fighting for women's rights in the 60s, I can see that she's the kind of person who is willing to help fight in any cause. So, but even though she never said the whole Black Lives Matter thing, but this Black Lives Matter scammers, that's what I call them, Black Lives Matters founders and all those affiliates are scammers. That's all they do, is scam black people out of their money. They use the grief and the pain black people are feeling and grab their money. Yes, part of it is racism. Everybody knows this. It's not no secret. But you cannot blame the entirety of it on racism. You can't. It's impossible. Because there's too many variables to this matter to just boil it down to racism. As again, you have to do with financial freedom, economical freedom, and your geographic, where you live. These three things play a big role in people's life. I can shape your life, because when you're financially literate, you make wiser decisions. You don't go in the city, go live. You live in a suburb. You live in a nice area. You go to better school. You speak more. You speak properly. You dress more modestly. You carry yourself at and you're respectful. Your demeanor is not aggressive. compared to somebody who's in the ghetto, who don't, most of the time is illiterate. Not all of them, because you're not ghetto people that's very smart. So I don't want nobody to come and say I'm talking about ghetto people as, but you have, you will know these kind of people who are the dark ones that get always in fights. Those are the ones I'm talking about. These one that does, they didn't finish school, they jump out of school and they do that kind of Nancy glory. Those are the ones I'm talking about. Those are the ones we must point out. When they commit a crime, we must point them out and start protecting them. Because you see, some of these people who say, I hate the police, I don't want the police, I don't like police. As soon as something happens to them, who they call? Who's the first call? 911. They want the police help. But yet they are fighting against the police. But as soon as something happens, boom, 911, I need the help. So it's counterproductive. Anyway, you don't know. I'm gonna do a next video on this Black Lives Matter movement, and we'll go deeper in it. So you don't know this. You don't know it, so it's peace, one love, boom.